I love it. I love it. I want drama when I put my foot on the pedal. I want the engine to shake, the cabin to shake a little bit. I want it to have some drama, and that is exactly what the 392 delivers. This here is just as rugged as it gets, and with that amazing exhaust note out back, it just... Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So behind me I have a 2024 Jeep Wrangler 392 finished in that Fathom Blue color. I'm obsessed with this paint. In today's video I'm of course get behind the wheel, share with you the driving experience of this brute force 6.4 liter V8 Jeep Wrangler here. I'll walk through the interior, the exterior, highlight my personal top 5 likes, my top 5 dislikes. We'll talk through the projected resale too of the V8 Jeep Wrangler here. Then I'll wrap up with, do I recommend buying a 392 if you have an opportunity to? So stick with me. All right, let's start with a exterior walk around. So like I mentioned, this Fathom Blue really just pops in the sunlight. It's a fascinating color because when you look at it up close in the sunlight, it looks a little bit more turquoise, right? Kind of see up here in the hood, but as you teeter towards some shade, it really does kind of look black. At nighttime, it just looks like a black Jeep. So I'm really impressed with this color for starters. With the 392 itself, you do get a bunch of gold accents in it. So, you know, the 392 isn't new, of course, for 2024. So many of you probably are pretty familiar with it. But with this being the final edition version of it, perhaps I should have opened with that, does hike the price tag up to over $102,000. Which, when you say that out loud, it's hard to say it with a straight face. A Jeep Wrangler costing over 100 grand. But that's what we have here. And as you start to look at all the components and pieces that make it special, it begins to actually make a little bit of sense, and I hate to say it out loud, especially what's underneath the hood, right? That 6.4 liter V8 engine is absolutely incredible. So just wait, when I start this thing up, you're gonna be blown away by it. So just kind of walk around, see more of that turquoise of that Fathom Blue here. Just love that. We do have the extended fender flares here on the final edition version. 35-inch BF Goodrich KO2 tires. And these bronze wheels on the 392 final edition. Same goes for the tow hooks out back. Get the bronze ones out back here. Quad exhaust. Quad tipped exhaust, I should say, and it just growls. Steel bumpers front and back, as you'd imagine, of course, especially for this price point. And I'm excited to show you the interior of this too. Some more of that bronze accenting here around the Jeep and the Wrangler decal. And there's that 392 final edition decal right there behind the front fender. Your trail rated badge. And Rubicon again, accented with that bronze perimeter. And the 392 badge up on the hood, which looks incredible. I love the fact that it does have a functional hood scoop here with the Hydroglide, allowing for water to exit the engine bay without just slopping on top of it. Nice LED headlights, the 7-slot front grille, new to the 2024 model anyway, especially with that bronze accenting here on the final edition. A worn winch on the front, integrated of course. I'll show you up underneath the skid plates anyway. It certainly is a brute. If you get stuck driving this thing off-road, you got bigger problems, I suppose, right? Absolutely love it. You know, a part of, we're going to talk through my likes later in the video, but just a part of the, I think what makes this great is, you know, Jeep Wrangler, they haven't changed, right? They've been true to form with this overall shape, right? And I really appreciate that. It really has become a timeless design, in my opinion, right? And I appreciate Jeep for staying true to it. Let's check out the interior. So we do have some Napa leather interior. on the final edition 392, and it just feels extremely plush. So it's a very, very nice place to be. Removable hardtop, of course, a paint match hardtop, which is unique to the 392 final edition here. You have the bronze stitching too throughout, kind of like what we find on a Heritage Edition Land Cruiser. We had that all throughout it, which is nice to see, even with the steering wheel there. We have our rock slider rail on the side. Let me hop in it real quick. Some metal door handles here. Nice little thud to close in the door. Of course, nothing quite like the G63 AMG Mercedes-Benz, but I bring that up because a lot of people often compared this SUV to that, just given the fact that it has a brute force V8 underneath the hood and just the compact size of the SUV at large, that square body. But Nappa leather seats, feels great. Heated and cooled seats. More of that bronze stitching up front, kind of a rubberized feel, but it kind of looks like carbon fiber here, which I like. Previous years of the 392 is just a very glossy carbon fiber, which is a little too much, not to mention more to keep clean, so I appreciate that. For 2024 model, you do have the extended, I think it's 12.1 inch infotainment here, which is great. Little tiny cubbies up top here on each side. But overall, it's just like it's a fun place to be. I'm not used to it personally, so I like being kind of a little more compact in here. The windshield's right in front of you. It just feels like a fun, almost like a go-kart feeling on the inside, which is really cool. Show you the back seats here. Peanut and Jet have already taken a ride, and they absolutely love it, especially how loud it is. So let me cut to the chase. We're gonna fire it up here, and I'll, of course, give you some audio from outside the vehicle too. But foot on the brake, push to start. I know you probably can't hear it too well, the windows are up, but it is insane how loud that startup is. I do have the exhaust valves open. This is a magical button here, but if you want to be a good neighbor anyway, you can always push that and it will close the valves. You probably can't hear it too well on camera here anyway, but I do appreciate that being a feature. Your windows are right here. Let me give you an idea. I'll roll down the windows and I'll do a couple little revs, see if you can hear it from here. Turn the exhaust back on. Just a couple quick revs there. Sounds incredible. Digital infotainment here, excuse me, gauge display center stack, I should say, with two analogs on the side. Your speedometer, tachometer there. Your headlight controls there. I do appreciate the overall simplicity of this, right? You know, there's very easy to navigate, very intuitive. All your off-roading goodies down here below. Your front rear lock for your diffs. Your off-road plus mode, you pop that when you're hitting the trails, which is great. Your auxiliary buttons down here if you want to set them to be for like fog lights or whatever you want them, ditch lights, all the additional aftermarket goodies that you can put on a Jeep Wrangler, right? Which is a part of the fun of owning this vehicle, right? You're able to just outfit it the way you really like it. But overall, this just feels incredible. I love the swooping design of this dash here. It just looks and feels good. Previous to 2024, you had a smaller infotainment here. Those maybe cut off right here. And then there's another vent on the side of it. So this is elongated now. It looks a lot better in my opinion. Show you the back seat here. Look at the tiny little window. Here's out back. Again, all the same finishes carry on to the back seat here with that Nappa leather. Your vents out back. You got some charging ports down here. USB-C, USB-D, normal plug there. But yeah, your speakers up top with your roll cage, if you will. And again, removable top there. Fuel cap, nice metal feel to the fuel cap here. Side swing out, open the door there, and then swing up the back glass. But just get an idea. I know you can't hear it well. I just love that. Love that growl. You know, and things like this are just going away, right? The days of having this giant brute force 6.4 liter V8 as an option in any vehicle, let alone a Jeep Wrangler, are just going away. So I really appreciate Jeep for offering it anyway. Let's shut this back up. Actually, you know what? I didn't show you something pretty cool. So this is that final edition badge out back. Talks about that 6.4 liter Hemi V8 engine, 470 horsepower and 470 foot-pounds of torque, 8-speed automatic transmission. Isn't that incredible? And ladies and gentlemen, developed in Michigan and built in Ohio. So naturally, I'm uploading this video on Veterans Day. Nothing more American than a Jeep Wrangler. All right, well, let's get to the fun part. Let's get behind the wheel. Let me show you what driving this 392 V8 Jeep Wrangler is all about. So stick with me, then we'll get through my top 5 likes and top 5 dislikes, and we'll wrap up with, do I recommend buying one if you have a chance to? Stick with me. All right, let's set off in the 392. Well, I see a jump right there. Challenge accepted. Weak. So even at just low speeds, cruising around town, it just burbles this V8, and it just sounds so cool. And I mean, this is what driving a vehicle is all about, right? You want to have the drama. You want to have that raw, visceral driving experience, where so many new vehicles nowadays are just, they've lost that, right? They feel synthetic. They don't feel thrilling at all. They're just a means of transportation at the end of the day, and well, that's not fun for anybody. But let me show you a little bit here. I'm not going to get on it. We're still in a little... Hopefully you can hear that there. So we'll get on it here. I love it. I love it. I love it. So obviously, you know, the one step up from this really is getting a Ram TRX, right? And that has a supercharged, I believe it's a 6.2 liter V8 and not a 6.4. So we have the 6.4 Hemi in this, but I feel like even that supercharger whine would almost take away from the raw, visceral feeling of this naturally aspirated platform here, right? And I feel like this here is just as rugged as it gets. And with that amazing exhaust note out back, it just... I love it. I freaking love it. I mean, it's been a long time since I've driven something that has, it's just in day-to-day driving, daily driving, having such a goofy grin on my face going up and down the road. And this is it. You know, this just feels so much fun. I love it. So let's talk through my top 5 likes of this Jeep Wrangler 392. Number 1, the power is unreal, and the power delivery is unreal. Tied to that 8-speed automatic transmission, it just rips through the gears, and that 470 horsepower, 470 torque, man, you feel it in a heartbeat. So love the power delivery of this. Number 2, the color. Absolutely love this Fathom Blue paint here. I geeked out about it plenty in this video, but to me it is very special, and it is unique to the 392. You can only get this color on a 392 and a Chrysler Pacifica. It's called something different. It seems a little bit brighter too when you look at them up close, but it is unique to the 392 anyway, so I really appreciate the color. Number 3 would be, I appreciate that it's just a Jeep, and I'm gonna get some pushback from you guys on this, I'm sure, because a lot of you guys may actually dislike it for this reason. Personally, having been a Toyota Land Cruiser fan for the bulk of my adult life, I always appreciated the simplicity of it, right? Nobody really, it was kind of an unassuming vehicle, the Land Cruiser is, right? Whereas this, kind of the same concept. Right? When you look at it, most people be, okay, cool, Jeep Wrangler, that dude spent 40 or 50 grand on it, awesome. They're cool, right? But obviously, if you have the eye for it, you know how special the 392 is. So I like that it is kind of unassuming, and for me, that's just something to appreciate. Number 4, the Napa leather interior just feels incredible, right? So I love the feel of it. It just feels right, and the whole intuitiveness of that interior there really is exceptional. Number 5 is it is the last of its kind, right? I've talked about it a little bit in this video, but it truly is, right? Especially with emission standards always tightening up, the EPA really hounding vehicle manufacturers to offer fuel efficient options. Vehicles like this thirsty 6.4 liter V8 Jeep Wrangler here are going away, right? This is not going to be here for much longer. It's the final edition. I say it with air quotes because they're technically dragging it to one more year, right? So 2025, we're also going to see the final edition. This was restricted to 3,700 units within the US, right? Now we're going to see one more year of it. I don't know if they're going to do 3,700 more. I haven't read into it that much, but I do know they're carrying it on for one more year. And you know what? I'm going to sneak in one more like here. One more like that nobody would probably ever talk about, and that is insurance rates. So I actually checked just for fun. I have a 2024 Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. The price tag is right about $82,000. That's the MSRP on that Sequoia. Every single month, and with a perfect driving record, I still pay, I think it was over double what this ended up being. I pay over double for a Toyota Sequoia compared to a $102,000 Jeep Wrangler, right? So this cost more, but it cost half to actually insure it. So I find that fascinating. The Toyota Sequoia is a brute of a vehicle too, very safe, but yet it costs double this in insurance. And I wonder if that's just because there's a lot of Jeep Wrangler parts and components and they're easily accessible, right? So it might be easier to repair, that's probably part of it. But something that nobody talks about, insurance rates, at least for me anyway, we're really good on this. And now it's your favorite part, the part where you want to beat me up. So here are my 5 top dislikes of the Jeep Wrangler 392. Number 1, let's get out of the way. Stellantis doesn't have the best reputation. Jeep, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, they just haven't developed a great reputation over the last 10, 15 years within the US, right? Perhaps even a little bit more than that, depending on who you're talking to. So the fact that it is plagued by that poor reputation of not having the best quality control, not having the most reliable vehicle options, I don't love that, right? I love the Jeep, it's awesome, but again, that's always in the background of it not having the best reputation. So that's my number 1 dislike. Number 2, there's rock collection points. I'll show you here in a separate frame. There's rock collection points that you build up a bunch of tiny little pebbles behind the rear fender, right? So in the crevice between the body of the vehicle and the fender itself out back, it collects a ton of rocks and pebbles that just get wedged in there. It can probably cause some pretty serious damage over time if you don't address it or blow them out or wash them out, right? So that'd be my number 2 dislike of the Jeep Wrangler. This is no particular order. Number 3, just poor quality control when it comes to a few items on the interior just being a little bit loose, a little rattly, right? But perhaps the biggest one I would say is the orange peel in the paint. I noticed it most on the hood. You get a lot of orange peel, and you would just expect maybe a little bit better of a paint job on a $102,000 vehicle, right? So overall quality control, but especially the orange peel itself. My number 4 reason would be resale. The projected resale of these is very questionable, and it's largely due to that first point, right? Stellantis not having the greatest reputation, Jeep not having the best reputation the last couple of decades anyway. So I'm always a person who likes to swap out vehicles, so buying something like this would make me a little bit more nervous than buying, let's say, a Toyota Land Cruiser, where I can buy that with peace of mind, knowing that it isn't going to lose a ton in that resale value, right? So that is my number 4 reason. My number 5 reason would be some air leaks within here, right? So this is very common for Jeep Wranglers, I'm sure. Let me make that very clear up front here. But for me, it's something to get used to. And I know for a lot of you folks, if you're buying a Wrangler for the first time, this will be a point of contention right at the beginning. You get used to it pretty quickly, as I have, but you do just take note of the fact that there's constant air coming in through this. The hardtop is detachable, and it's never totally airtight is what I'm getting at. So that for me was a little bothersome at first, so I included it here within my top 5 dislikes. So do I recommend buying one if you have an opportunity to? I say absolutely. There's very few options out there that will offer the same exact thrilling experience. Very few options. Honestly, the only one that I can personally compare it to is I had a 2017 Mustang or Shelby GT350R. So that had that Voodoo motor in it, and it was exceptional. It sounded amazing. It was just a fun brute force vehicle to drive. And I get that same feeling, that same experience while driving the 392 here. And those are just becoming a dying breed. So although it is a huge bill to put forward to buy this at $102,000 plus, it is the last of its kind. And I think here in a few years, when you can no longer get a V8 in a Jeep Wrangler, you're gonna wish maybe you'd considered it a little bit more. You know, it is hard to comprehend paying that much money for a Wrangler. I understand, don't get me wrong, but there is something uniquely special about it. And then until you drive it, you won't fully understand it. When you just say $100,000 Jeep Wrangler, I get it. You're gonna be like, okay, no thanks. But when you drive it, it starts to make sense, and it's scary to think about. Let's real quickly talk about resale values. So that is one thing that concerns me a little bit with the 392 here, especially with, like I mentioned, Jeep not having the greatest reputation as of late. That does affect and hinder the resale values. If you look at Kelley Blue Book or any kind of resale platform, they always project Jeep to be among the very best. We're talking top 1 or 2 with best resale, Wranglers in particular, right? And I do feel like the V8 option here with the 392 is the most promising, especially for the long run, next 5 to 10 years, especially after the final edition goes away and this V8 goes away, people will want it, right? They'll desire this platform very much so when you can't have it. The forbidden fruit thing will come into play totally. So I'm hopeful for the 392 doing well in the long run, but for now, next couple of years, looking at recent years of the 392, not the final edition per se, but they have generally lost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 in their value, which, you know, that when I say it out loud, it sounds like a ton, but keep in mind its original price points. The original price points really were right around $80,000, $81,000. in years past. The final edition hikes it up over $100,000, right? So keep that in mind. But I do still foresee this coming down that 10 or 15 grand within the first couple of years. Overall, it's going to do well, but right now the reputation is definitely hindering it right out of the gate. What are your thoughts? Now, this won't really feel exceptionally special until maybe 2 years after it's gone, right? There will be people who are going to be chomping at the bit to buy this last V8 option of the Jeep Wrangler. Not to mention, at that point, there probably won't be hardly any V8 options in existence across the board, right? Everything going smaller displacement, turbocharged, hybridized, everything has done that. And that's one thing that always kind of drove me nuts about our Sequoia TRD Pro, right? The fact that it is a hybridized platform, it just feels synthetic. That thing has, I think, what, 560 horsepower, 565, something like that. Something astronomical, but it doesn't feel as thrilling, right? I want drama when I put my foot on the pedal. I want the engine to shake, the cabin to shake a little bit. I want it to have some drama, and that is exactly what the 392 delivers. And I think that is what a lot of true enthusiasts, automotive enthusiasts, really appreciate about their vehicles. They want that drama, and that's kind of what I liked about my 2021 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, right? Being able to drive that 5.7 liter V8, it was never fast, 381 horsepower and 401 foot-pounds of torque. It wasn't fast at all, but the drama that it had, right? Putting my foot on that pedal with that TRD catback exhaust, it just roared to life every time. And I love that. And that's what driving is all about, in my personal opinion anyway. So for me, the 392 here is very special. Freaking love that. That is insane. I know it probably isn't coming through the camera too well, but man, it just screams. It just screams. So I can't think of a better vehicle to review on Veterans Day. God bless America. So I'll wrap up the video there, guys. As always, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune into these. If you like this type of content, if you appreciate these more in-depth reviews of vehicles, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a ton, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.